All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Commissioner Gordon is excused. We have you're gonna have to silence them. Okay, yeah, we have announcements on the agendas. Extra agendas are in the side table. First item up is for comments for items that are not on this agenda. Please remember, this is 3-minute speaking times. Who's first? Great, thanks.
I was my
Thank you.
printer this morning. So last time we were here, Dr. Frank. Talked about some statistics, specifically statistics regarding those over 65 in our county. And charts are great, but I like real numbers. So I wanted to see where these numbers actually came from. On the top part, you'll see just overall population numbers and registered to vote. But the second chart is what's really important. I used the PSU's Population Research Center. And it gives a breakdown of how many people in our county are over particular ages. So in 2020, the over 65 population was 15,742, and that's in this county, Polk County. The registered voters for that same time frame, based on the state of Oregon and the election integrity and voter registration site, the number of registered voters over 65 was 15,998. That's 101%. And that backs up what Dr. Frank's charts showed. How does that happen? I don't know. It's very odd. I also happened to work with someone from Marion County who wanted some similar analysis done. And in Marion County, I didn't bring those statistics, but I found similar statistics. 98% of people over 65 are registered to vote. I find that rather incredulous. Now, if you go down to the bottom, I did some analysis because I wanted to see what does the cast vote record look like compared to the voter rolls that the state of Oregon puts out. And in 2020, total ballots that were cast by the cast vote records for Polk County were 48,794. The state of Oregon, they recorded 48,291, 377 difference between those two, which is understandable. We can accept little variations because one of the things that we know about our voter rolls is if you move from one county to another and you voted in Lincoln County and then you move to Polk County, it still registers the vote that you had in Lincoln County. That makes it really difficult from a transparency standpoint to figure out who voted and did they vote in the right county and in the appropriate county. We don't know because they're all kind of meshed together. So at some point, it would be really nice to have some accurate voter rolls. Now, here's where things get really weird. Voter rolls from January of 21 show that 49,171 people voted. Well, that's quite different. And most alarmingly, in January of 23, 41,947 people voted in the 2020 general election. That's a difference.
That's 3 minutes, by the way.
That's a difference of over 7,000. And thank you for having us.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name and address.
Suzanne Ash and I reside in Monmouth.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Carmen Saunders. I'm from West Salem, Oregon. I'm standing here today as a concerned citizen of my beloved Polk County. I am a wife, mom, and an elementary music teacher in our wonderful community. Teachers like visuals, so I've brought you one today. My question I'm putting forth is, are our elections secure? Is the door to our most sacred right being properly guarded? Are there too many windows and doors being made that are creating avenues for threats to attack our most sacred right? My story is that when I was a child, my dad kept me safe. He locked the door. Now I am the one wanting to help him lock the door and keep our rights safe. Similarly, when I was married, my husband travels a lot. So I didn't think about locking the door, but then when he was gone one night, I realized, is the door locked? I got out of bed, the garage was wide open. And I lock the door all the time now for my family. I was shocked to think that someone could have entered and taken my babies. From then on, I know it's my responsibility, and I do want to fight for secure elections, so I got out of bed for my kids and started investigating our elections. And I see that our garage door is wide open in the middle of the night. Similarly, I'm a music teacher at school. We live we live Arches, and we're right downtown. So we see homeless traffic all the time, intoxicated people through the windows. Once there was an intruder who came in, and I had not locked the door to my class, my music class, my kids, and it was one of the worst moments of my life. So now 10 times a day at school, I let classes in and out, locking the doors. So I'm a keeper of keeping our kids safe, and so I am used to fighting for keeping those doors secure. The threats are growing, and I learned the hard way one day in my classroom. However, are our elections secure? Since Oregon pioneered mail-in voting, the idea back in 1981, and then making mail-in voting the state standard more than 20 years ago, we have had one-party control when there used to be some back and forth between parties, as we have seen in the usual turn of the tide over time. At least 10 million immigrants have crossed the border in 3 years since Biden took office. Democrats in Congress have shown us recently their push to pass legislation to illegal immigrants' votes in our elections. The threat is real, but what about our own legislation? The states of Oregon and California and Washington have offered healthcare coverage to people of all ages, and a recent bill that was passed, House Bill 2107, says that it expands automatic voter registration to participants of the Oregon Health Plan, who is administered by the Health Oregon Authority. And this was effective January 1st, 2024. So now we have automatic voter. So what I want to say today, that was be my thing, is that we are focusing, we are wanting. We have lots of problems. Mail-in voting, voter legislation passed that has hindered the cleaning up of our voter rolls. There are many issues, but today we are focusing on examples of our inflated, egregious, messy voter rolls. When we leave our voter rolls full of people who should no longer be registered at an address, we are creating windows and places of vulnerability for various nefarious actors. If we want to take our nation without firing a shot, it would be an attack through the door of our elections. And that is what is happening in our nation and in our state. One of the biggest doors is our voter roll. It seems like there's no sacredness left to our votes. Thank you so much. And now you will hear some examples of our voter rolls.
Morning, my name is Patty McConville and I live in West Salem. I am a retired teacher. I'm just a mom and a grandma, really a nobody, but we have been painstakingly researching the Polk County voter rolls. Polk County has 50 individuals registered to vote at a baseball field on Glen Creek Road in West Salem. Many questions arise from this. Where do the ballots go? There's no mailbox there. If a ballot is sent to an organization like the Union Gospel Mission, what happens to the ballots? How can citizens of Polk County know that these ballots get to the correct individuals that they legally belong to? Another example, we have a local citizen who spent hours researching the voter rolls, and he is concerned about the reliability of our election process. He found 200 deceased individuals on the Polk County voter rolls. Bless his heart, he took this information to Kim Williams in May, and Kim assured him that these people would be removed from the voter rolls. But questions still arise. Why are there 200 dead people on the voter rolls? I looked them up, half of them active voters. Questions arise. Why? Why 200 people? Who is responsible? Now I'm going to ask you, who is responsible for removing deceased from the voter rolls? I'm asking.
County Clerk's Office.
County Clerk's Office? Okay,
That's,
for sure. Not the state? I mean, so county clerk.
I can't verify that, but don't they get notified from the state on death? On a death?
They don't get notified from the state.
No?
They don't get notified from the state, so who removes them?
County clerk.
County clerk, okay, that's on record. Okay, thank you. Why is it that grassroots citizens have to spend countless hours researching problems with our voter rolls and then has to go to the county clerk to make this happen? These are just two of the many examples of how our voter rolls are inflated and inaccurate. Personally, I am dismayed that I cannot trust that the voter rolls of Polk County are a true representation of the eligible voters in Polk County. Myself and others have spent countless huge number of hours researching problems with the voter rolls. I would much rather be spending time with my grandchildren. I have 10, golfing, working in my garden, but instead I am doing this, researching voter rolls. If I could trust, I wish I could fully trust our election process and we wouldn't have to be doing all this. And I have a quick quote from Elon Musk. When combined with mail-in ballots, the system is designed to make it impossible to prove fraud. Mail-in and drop box ballots should not be allowed, as cameras on the in-person voting stations would at least prevent large-scale fraud by counting how many people showed up versus the ballots cast. And Elon Musk is a super smart guy. Thanks, guys.
I'm Kathy Elgin from West Salem, and I'm concerned that our mail-in ballot system is canceling my ballot and yours. In the short time I've been canvassing, I've been to home after home to discover that there are people registered at the address, but they don't live there. Maybe they did at one time, but they haven't for quite some time. Did you know there are 112 people registered at Western Oregon University? Do they still live there, all of them? I asked because I was working on a campaign some years ago when the person responsible for mail at Willamette University came to the office with a significant stack of ballots, asking what he should do with them because people no longer live there. That's just burned in my brain because we thought, wow, how much money could he have sold those ballots for? And what happens at all the universities? There were 28 people registered at a local shelter, but the people working there didn't recognize a single name, not one, not one. 18 filed for a change of address. Most didn't even vote. Where will all their ballots go? A neighbor of mine had 7 voters registered her address, but only 3 lived there for the past several years. Of the 4 that moved on, only 1 voted back in 2020. So, you think, well, not bad because only 1 of them voted. Well, it is bad. It's very discouraging to run into this scenario, address after address. Ballots are mailed to the registrants regardless of where they live, and even when there is no interest on the part of the register. Our voter rolls are grossly inflated, and one can easily imagine the streets being littered with ballots. Littered with ballots. I mean, where do they all go? They go to these homes and there's nobody there by that name. It's our right to have free and fair elections. In Oregon, it seems that our votes are not sacred, but silenced by a system of ballot handout free-for-all. This is a nonpartisan issue. We should be concerned, all of us, and as our elected officials, we would like you to help alleviate our concerns and help us make changes to better our system. We deserve our votes to count, and we're worried they don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lynette Henshaw, Dallas, Oregon. And as the first person that spoke, Suzanne stated that a shocking 101% of the voting age population over 70 years of age is currently registered to vote in Polk County, which is a little bit strange. In my community of Dallas Retirement Village, we were concerned about this information, and we took a list of elderly people still on the voter rolls that we had questions about to Suzanne, and found out that 37 out of the list of 84 residents that we have been concerned about no longer live in Dallas Retirement Village. Yet those 37 people are still registered to vote from our community. That is over 1/3 of the list of people who were originally concerned about. They should not be registered at Dallas Retirement. Out of the 37 people who no longer live there, 11 of them were from our nursing care facility. Out of the 14 available spaces in our nursing facility, 11 are from the most vulnerable and compromised in their health and mental capacity, and we're no longer living there. We are concerned for our citizens that their names and votes are being taken advantage of by those wanting to fraudulently cast their ballots. Thank you, Lynette Henshaw. I personally think it's the least we can do for our country to vote in person. And I'm in favor of it.
Hello, Linda Robinson. I live in West Salem. Our grassroots people have been canvassing our Polk County neighborhoods to verify the accuracy of our voters' rolls. We are trying to establish whether or not those who live at a particular residence are actually the individuals who should be voting at that address. Many houses that we visited had more people listed on the voter rolls than who actually lived there. The residents often, as we showed them the list and asked them if they recognize these names, did not recognize the names of some of the people that supposedly still lived there and were actively registered to vote at the address. We are concerned about the accuracy of our voter rolls, and we're not confident that they are up to date. Adding to this frustration is Senate Bill 247 that states, removes requirement that the county elections official cancel the voter's registration when the voter registers in another county within the state. This requirement is no longer needed because the counties use a centralized voter registration database, which allows for voters' information to be updated when they move to another county in the state. Now, common sense tells us it is very difficult to consistently keep clean and accurate voter rolls from a centralized state level far away from our local areas. And here is another example of this centralized manipulation taken out of the hands of our very own county clerk. This is one of the many reasons that we must return to voting at the precinct level with government-issued ID, paper ballots, and hand counting. Just imagine, like we used to do, someone would come in and to vote, and the volunteers would know who it is usually, but they would say, would you please check your address next to your signature? And if it's wrong, would you let us know? Somebody might say, well, yes, I moved a couple of blocks away. And then we would say, well, would you please write your current address on the poll book? And then we will make sure it gets updated in the voter rolls. Very easy. How easy is that? How How nice is that to be working with our own people? And how
And am a voter in precinct number 134. I have recently signed up to be a precinct committee person. Over the past years, I have been increasingly concerned about election integrity. Before Oregon went to mail-in voting, I served as an election poll worker in Clackamas County. Before any election, all the volunteers were required to go through a comprehensive training process. Many safeguards were set up for each voting site. For instance, it was required that both Democrat and Republicans both Democrat and Republican volunteers at each polling site. When polls opened and voters arrived, we requested they show valid identification and sign their name next to the book in the ledger. After receiving their ballot, they went into a private voting booth. I think most of you remember all of this. It's nothing, I'm just going over what we used to do. If by chance a voter had made a mistake on their ballot, they were asked to give it back and we marked the ballot as spoiled. They were then issued a new ballot. At my particular I'm sorry, I'm nervous. At my particular polling location, we had a person who came in every year to vote, but could not read. After he put his mark in the book, he was given his ballot. Then two volunteers, one from each party, gave him assistance by reading the ballot to him so he could vote according to his preference. When the polls were closed, we counted all the signatures in the ledger to ensure the number of ballots matched the number of signatures. The spoiled ballots and the unused ballots were also counted. Two individuals then delivered all the voting equipment in sealed ballot. Excuse me. Two individuals then delivered all the voting equipment and sealed ballots to the county election headquarters in Oregon City. All this to say, in closing, I, along with many concerned Polk County registered voters, would like to see more safeguards put in place to ensure that our election process is trustworthy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Morning. This is my second opportunity to present a statement before you. I'm Yanita Brannigan of West Salem. Last month, I referenced a quote from the Oregon Attorney General and her office. The quote came from the April 14th, 2022 Oregon Secretary of State's reply in support of the motion to intervene Circuit Court in Washington County, case number 22CV07782. The quote is, even when systems are not directly connected to the networks, they are vulnerable to attack through physical or wireless access. This quote is from referencing a research paper from the National Academies of Science, Engineering and Medicine, Securing the Vote, Protecting American Democracy, 2018. You don't need to read court documents to fuel the mistrust in our elections. Due to the limited time I have, I will provide you with one of many additional items. It is a news article by NBC on January 10th, 2020. It's lengthy, so I will quote from it, but will provide you with article in its entirety. The title is Online and Vulnerable. Experts find voting systems connected to internet. The quote is, the largest manufacturer of voting machines, ES&S, told NBC their systems are protected by firewalls and are not on the public internet. But both Sockland and Appeal, a Princeton computer science professor and expert on elections, said such firewalls can and have been breached. I hope you understand the importance of having a large group of Polk County concerned citizens attend your morning meetings in the middle of the week. We citizens feel disenfranchised from our elections. We are not being heard and our grievances continue to be ignored. Is it because the same mechanism that elected each one of you is the same mechanism we no longer trust? Specifically for Commissioner Morthurst, your previous interest in our election integrity during your re-election campaign has vanished. Why? Each one of you now has a sustained and growing mistrust over your current term in office. This distrust will continue to grow election after election. Your re-election campaigns will be tarnished by your disregard of our concerns. I urge you to hear your constituents that pay your salary. Do not ignore our concerns just because we live in a small county. We will not be ignored or silenced. We will be relentless. Why are you all afraid of a system that is supposedly safe? No transparency, no trust. No transparency, no trust. That statement does not only apply to elections, but to each one of you now. If we truly have no issues with our elections in Polk County, then order the court clerk's office to work with us and provide all the necessary data we have repeatedly requested. Thank you and see you next month. I have all my documentation referenced in my statement. I will give it to Nicole. It's too lengthy to have printed too many copies.
Okay.
Honorable Commissioners Pope, Mardhorst, Sheriff Garten, the administrators, county council, and guests. My name is Penny Ryan, and I reside in West Salem. Some of you know that I'm presently the chair of Polk County Republicans, but I'm here today as a citizen. We, as a grassroots group of Polk County citizens, want to explain that we have no problem with the integrity of any of the employees of Polk County. We believe the county clerk and staff do their job expertly and diligently. What we do object to is the fact that the clerk's office may not be in control of Polk County voting records because the state of Oregon appears to be highly involved in updating county voting rolls. Today, we brought information personally collected by Polk County citizens, which demonstrates that our voter rolls are inaccurate and unreliable. We have people ready to testify or who have already testified that someone voted in their place. We have proof of dead people voting, and we have declarations of people voting from the same house who no longer live here. Our problem is that we believe that the voters of Polk County are being disenfranchised because the Polk County clerk may not have control of the data. A person's vote is one of the most precious privileges an American citizen can have, and we, and I'm certain you all, feel that it is one that must be guarded. If the citizens of Polk County feel disenfranchised, then something needs to be done, because the citizens are the true sovereigns in America. Because the Declaration of Independence says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We believe you, as county commissioners, have the authority to determine disenfranchisement has been substantially proven and decide that Polk County should take back the voter rolls and count the ballots ourselves. This has been done in cities in Maine, counties in California, and in Missouri and other states as well, where they just said, you're not taking care of the citizens of my county. And they took back the elections. We call upon you to carefully consider the evidence, because this is evidence. Just because we're not in a court does not mean this is not evidence. The evidence that we bring before you, we, the citizens, believe there is something wrong and it needs to be looked at. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Virginia Hall, and I'm a guest from Clatsop County. The reason that the unreliability of the voter rolls accuracy is such a problem is one reason is that the people that get ballots, that some know that they're a duplicate ballot, they've already gotten one at home, but they live at a university and they get another one there, or they're homeless or have other circumstances that are trying. They know that they can sell those ballots with the signature on the return envelope already for $200. It is cheaper for a candidate to buy those ballots at $200 a pop than it is for them to pay for advertising for their campaigns. And there is no way for anybody to verify that that is either happening or not happening. The other major expense that incurs from inaccurate voter rolls is when the mass mailings take place, but nobody turns, votes and gives the ballot back. So, in the counties that I've looked at, the cost of doing a hand-counted election is less than the money that was wasted on the postage and handling for those ballots at $1.48.64 per ballot. So anybody that tells you that hand counting is too expensive doesn't know anything about what they're talking about. This is waste, outright waste that cannot be tolerated in any county. Please look into it.
We'll take you one more.
One more, okay. My name is Anna Munson. I live in Marion County, and I recently ran for county clerk against the 20-year incumbent. And one of the reasons I ran was to bring kind of hope to the voters in Marion County. I am still pursuing my race because I'm trying to reconcile the numbers on the voter rolls versus the numbers on the website. I have a very good relationship with the county because I've worked as an election worker, in case many of you don't know. And I'm not doing anything that is aggressive or trying to, I just want to know. And I'm just letting you know that we're over 60 days past the election. And every time I go back to, I have now got somebody who is a database expert who can ask the questions that I didn't know. And the county has been very cooperative. I have no problems with that. But what I do realize is the issue with the voter rolls is very important. And it truly, the voter rolls are centralized. The OCVR system is so antiquated. It cannot, it's just so antiquated, it's unreal. There were no firewalls developed when this particular piece of equipment came out. I'm just letting you know that the concerns are very valid. And I am, again, still trying to reconcile everything so that I can offer to my citizens in my county that these are the issues, these are why we have suspicions. And I just want to let you know that it is not just Polk County. Thank you very much.
So I have a question for you now.
Yes.
Since this is your second time up here testifying and making the claims that you've worked for Marion County Clerk's Office. I guess my question to you is, why don't we hear from people like yourself more about the anomalies and the challenges that you claim are happening? I mean, why aren't we hearing this from all the clerk's offices, all the staffers that?
Let me specify that my job in the county is as an election worker, an EBW. Okay, so my job was not as a full-time employee with the county. My job was to work the elections. Okay, and so why haven't you heard that? Well, there's I believe that there are directives from the Secretary of State's office to the county clerks directly that can be intimidating, such as the fact that you can, if the Secretary of State deems that you say something or act as a county clerk against something that they might believe, they can charge you. And if they charge you, you have 5 days in circuit court in which you must appear and have a trial. The fines for that are anywhere from, I'm just going from memory, so I can't, please don't quote my numbers, but from $1,000 to $10,000. Now, I realize that. Now, I'm sure other county clerks must realize it too. So there are other factors that are at the Secretary of State level and what they are being directed to do. And I'm not blaming any particular person or anything like that. And I'm not blaming the county clerks for not saying things in public that would compromise their position. But I think that's one of the main factors. So I hope that answers your questions. If you want to discuss it more, I would be happy to do so.
Absolutely.
May I address that question? I have some specific.
You'll have to come forward, put your name on the record.
Okay. You're not asking me.
No, no.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Roger Shipman. I live in Marion County, but I'm the chair of the Constitution Party of Oregon, so I have constituents here in Polk County. Two different issues. As the chair of the party, I can get voter rolls. I can request voter rolls from the Secretary of State for the entire state for all parties and races. I was able to confirm recently, looking at the data from 2022 and March of 2024, that voters had been inserted using old numbers, not brand new voters, but recycled voters were inserted in each of the counties in the state. That's outrageous. But what I also want to speak to is that I have a 40-year experience in software engineering, and that includes a degree from Portland State. While I was at Portland State, an individual from Southeast Portland dialed into Portland State and broke into 100,000 computer systems with some of the best firewalls in the world. And also in my experience, I worked at Intel, and my job was to test network interface cards. So I was there the time that the first person in history announced that if a wireless card is attached to a computer, that computer can be waked up, broken into, turned back off, leaving no evidence in less than 30 seconds. So any machine, anywhere, that ever has a wireless internet card can be broken into and messed with without anyone finding out. I do not believe that anyone in any of the clerk's offices in any of the counties of Oregon have any lack of integrity. They're doing their jobs. And even at the state level, I could say the Secretary of State is. But the evidence presented by Dr. Frank that I was able to confirm locally is that somewhere above the state level, parties are able to inject voters, recycled voters, back into the system. So even if all the voter rolls were cleaned, the problem can still persist. The only solution is machines may not be used. The voter rolls need to be maintained on paper. The voting needs to be done on paper. The counting needs to be done in person without a machine. You don't need a machine to count it. Citizens lined up can make a tally, and that will be more accurate than anything machines can do. And then the possibility that some single bad actor or some group of bad actors outside the borders of our country or state can influence our elections. That's what the solution that we're looking for.
Thank you.
My name's Ted Campbell, West Salem, and I believe if you present a problem, you should present an answer too. One of the things, the county commissioners, people listen to county commissioners, they won't listen to a citizen. Okay, motor voter, we need to make sure that they know they're citizens and things like that. And we send ballots out, the post office knows these people have gone forward. They need to return those ballots, not just send them someplace. And that again, the county commissioners, you need to push that with a letter to the postal service or whatever. But that's my solution to a couple of your problems. Thank you.
You have an inside line with the US Postal Service that will listen? Have you ever tried to interact with the US Postal Service on these issues?
I was in the government. I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's,
That could be done by your sheriff.
okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because we have more agenda to deal with. So thank you all. I appreciate your comments. So I'm sure more to come. Thank you.
See you next month.
Yep.
You got it, Craig.
Nice article on you in the IO. All that money you need for the Polk County Fairgrounds. Oh. Thanks.
Okay, regular business. We're still on the record for regular business, so thank you. Next item up is approval of the agenda,
Also move.
and I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of minutes from July 17th,
Also move.
and I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes. And approval of this consent calendar,
I will so move.
and I will second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes. Do we have a need for executive session?
Yes, sir. The board will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192, 660 sub 2D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations, and sub P to consider matters related to cybersecurity infrastructure and responses to cybersecurity threats.